In simple as tone, inflection of your voice that will set a trigger in your mind to be on guard. And that's why I believe consulting literally is the new selling, because you have to make the process feel like it's a collaboration, not like it's a presentation. Does that make sense? So instead of tap dancing, literally, genuinely look at how you can help them solve a problem. And their problem is not lowest cost or lowest rate. Their problem is to find a solution to help them afford the higher cost of living. Everyone has a sequence that they go through, a set process from hello, my name is Daniel, right? And from then on, it's typically repetitive. And it's kind of refined, as you get older. But nonetheless, it's still the same. And depending on who's at the table or who's listening, everyone meets certain objections as to why they cannot complete that process. And I think that those objections sometimes happen at the same exact time within the sequence. Meaning that if you paid attention to your conversation and you realize what common objections you run into, you're able to kind of revise your pitch and your conversation going into the next call. And so if you notice that your main objection that creates most frustration, it gives you the most resistance, is the immediate rebuttal, like, hey, I don't want to give you any information until you tell me what your bottom line rate is, or can you beat 2.5 30-year fixed? This is what I'm getting offered by the broker across the street. Before I go into that, I want to kind of really go into details to the objections, because that's one of the main things that stops our process, right? That's the only reason why we cannot make a sale outside of qualifying factors like credit scores or bankruptcies or limitations. So that's a separate conversation of understanding your guidelines, understanding what you can do and what you can't do. But when you figure that part out, then it just becomes a sale within the process. And so if you run into the same objection within a certain time of your conversation, you're able to revise the script so that you address that objection you already know is coming. One of the common objections, again, is I don't have any time for this. Let me see, I don't want to pay any fees or costs, right? Another objection is I will only do this refinance if you can help me. Would you agree? These are basically what they're saying. And so when you take in a call, and if you tell them right away and say, hey, you know what, thanks for calling, but before I even begin, I just want to make sure you're in the right place. That is more personable than saying, hey, I my name is Daniel Nikar and I work with New American Funding for 4 years and now I'm a sales manager, and going in that background. And we believe that we need to say that because we're in an interview state of mind, right? Like, oh man, I hope I win this person's business, where that now starts making you sound like the salesman versus the consultant. When you come across and say, hey, I'm authorized to give you the information you need, you're no longer a salesman, you are now a consultant. Make sense? When they come in and say, hey, I want the absolute lowest rate, no fees, no problem, I can help you, and I genuinely can, because I can give them an option with no fees, right? But I'm not going to go into that detail. I'm not going to sweat it right at the very beginning, because as a consultant, my goal is not to make a sale. My goal is to help each party on the phone. I'm going to help that person figure out if they can really gain any benefit in a refinance in general. And I'm going to help myself in figuring out whether I should explain a refinance to this person on the phone, right? Because not everybody's qualified to do that. Does that make sense so far? Cool. Any questions on that?
Kind of only that I noticed you don't say, hey, or I hear a lot of people say, hey, how are you today?
Yeah.
In the voice. So you would just go in and say, thank you so much for the transfer. I'm the authorized agent that will be helping you look into this today. I have some general questions to go over with you. It saves both a lot of time.
Sure.
That you don't do the, hey, how are you? It's just boom.
Exactly. Yeah. That's very important to me right now. That was effective back in the day. That was effective before, and now with the way communication works, I think that especially they make movies about it, to make fun of salesmen, and salespeople have this negative spotlight, right? Of, oh man, this person just wants to make a rip, or this person doesn't care about my needs. They just care about making a sale. And so, I've slowly identified with that and understood that. And so how can I, kind of detach from that image? And the only way that I found to be able to do that was coming through with authority. Like, I'm the guy you need to talk to. More like, when people have a problem, they ask for the manager, right? And so I sounded like a manager, even when I was a customer service agent, because it kind of felt that I understood that if I was talking to somebody more personable, like right off the street, they would be more willing to comply. Whereas if I talk to someone as on the street where I'm trying to sell them a widget, they'd be on guard, right? And so why I don't say, hey, how are you? Although that is common, is simply because I want to make them feel like they are speaking to a friend of a friend, right? I'm when I made that statement, make noise in a noisy world. The only way that you'll be heard is if you make it in a different way. And that goes back to tone, right? It goes back to the way you're talking. And because you don't sound like the rest, you're a different noise from the rest. And why I say that immediately right from the beginning, and when I say that, for any of you guys who don't know, my opening line that comes from, like, let's say Tyler sent me over a call, I'd say, hey, thanks, Tyler. And the borrower's name was Mac, or the inquiry's name was Mac. Hey, thanks, Tyler. Hey, Mac, thanks for holding. My name is Daniel. And the reason why Tyler's transferring you over to me is because I'm authorized to give you the information you need. But before I begin, let me just make sure you're in the right place. I'm gonna make sure I can even move forward with this call. Simple, right? I didn't go into the hoopla of saying, hey, we have the lowest rates or lowest fees. Although, let's say the prospect will say that. Prospect will say, oh yeah, well, you know what, before I even begin, I'm driving into work, just make sure that, bottom line, can you beat this rate? Absolutely, I can help you. Let me make sure I can even move forward with the call. If I can't, I'm gonna help you save a bunch of time right now, right? And then I'll look at the lead source. And so if I see that this guy is like a lending tree or an internet aggregate, I'll make a very general statement, and I'll say, it looks like you did an inquiry online. Now, you probably already spoke with a bunch of lenders, and the reason why we're in contact with you is because we're gonna show you how to gain access to the same sources at a lower cost and no broker fees or broker points. Again, consumers are on guard for points and fees. Once they hear it, there's a trigger in their head that puts them and says, no, no, no. When you say that, hey, we're going to the same sources, there's really only 4 sources that do this, and it's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, or VA. Unless you're doing a hard money loan, no one's doing a hard money loan. You don't want a prepayment penalty. You don't want a balloon. So I'm just going to make sure that either one of these 4 sources can help you. Here's the good news: is I'm a direct conduit to the source. And when they hear conduit, it's different. That's why I like using it. And a conduit is a plug. It's just a direct plug, right? And so when they think about that and say, okay, well, cool, we're all going to the same source. All these other companies are basically the same. It's just a matter of getting my cotton from Nordstrom or getting my cotton from Costco. When you minimize it down to that level, you can now give insight to your prospect, which is not being done by anyone. And I think that the reason why it's not being done by anyone is because, again, most of our competitors are rigged a certain way to just talk about rate and term. And why I say we're in a great position is because those who learn and use these techniques are going to be able to weather the storm and prevail when this boom comes. And it's going to come. It's going to come on a massive level. I strongly believe that those who can genuinely sell and not take orders are going to capitalize on this market. Those who can sell a first and second, those who can sell an adjustable rate mortgage, those who can sell a plan to get cash out, to improve the FICO, to put money into the bank, to put money away for the kids, those who can sell on the actual result are going to prevail. And those who are not, those who are just kind of ready and saying, okay, well, our lowest rate is this, our lowest fee is this. Do you want to go? No? Okay. And just move on to the next, or not. They're going to naturally leave the market because they cannot afford, and they're going to have income shock. They're going to panic, and they're going to, what's good for us, because they're going to give a bad experience to that prospect, and they're going to like us even more, right? They're going to look for the different noise, and the different noise is being a consultant, not a salesman.